Come here. Get off. Our guest today is Beverly Jenkins, pronouns she and her. Ms. Jenkins is the nation's premier writer of African American historical romance fiction, and she specializes in 19th century African American life. She's the 2018 Michigan Library Association Author of the Year, a USA Today best-selling author, an NAACP Image Award nominee, and the 2017 recipient of the Romance Writers of America's Nora Roberts Lifetime Achievement Award. She has over 45 published novels and has been named to many Best Book of the Year awards, including the NPR and the American Library Association list. She speaks widely on romance, writing, and African American history. Ms. Bev, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me. This is an honor.
Ugh, for you, for us.
Every time you say that, I'm like,
Nah.
ma'am, you have no understanding. You do not understand how much we're freaking out about this. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome, welcome.
Kenrya just read your amazing bio, and I just want to know, how did you end up here? Did you always want to be a writer when you were growing up?
Never, ever.
Really?
I just stumbled into this.
Oh, wow.
All I ever wanted to do in life was work in a library. Or as we used to say on the east side, work in a library.
Library.
That was my very first job, was working in the library.
Yeah,
It's an awesome place.
it is. Avid reader. So, got a chance to work in the library was when I was in college at Michigan State. In fact, my junior year, a full-time job opened up because I've been working as a student in various different departments and stuff. And a full-time job opened up in circulation, and I didn't even take my finals. I was like,
Yep.
I'm out. I'm done. Yeah. School wasn't really important back then, no way.
Listen, there's a lot of things that's more important.
Well, I was there in the early 70s, so we weren't doing anything but, passing blunts and taking over buildings. So,
Not much has changed.
so I'm hearing. So I went to work full time there. And then, I don't know, daughter born, husband and I moved up north, and then we moved back down this way. And I was working for Park Davis Pharmaceuticals, which was one of the big farm companies. And there was a woman who worked with me in the library. Her name was Laverne. She had just gotten a sweet romance published. So we're celebrating her, right? And I told her about this book that I was working on for myself, because back then romance was basically closed to writers of color. And I was working on it just for me. And so she said, bring it in. And I did. And she loved it and said, you need to get this published. And I'm like, where? So I tell her that it's just her fault that I'm here where I am now, because she harassed me.
Thank you. Thank
Her
you.
and my mama. Her and my mom, I'm going to tell you my mama's story in a minute. But I tell her she basically harassed me every day. Have you found an agent? Did you da 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 da? So to make her shut up, and sometimes life gives you things that you hadn't planned on. And I cannot tell you to this day how I found the address for Vivian Stevens.
Wow.
Vivian was a huge editor in New York at the time. Well, right before then, she basically started American romance, especially for women of color, because she was at Dell, which no longer exists. But she published Sandra Kitt. She published Elsie Washington, the ladies on whose shoulder I'm standing. And she had gotten out of publishing, and she was doing agent stuff. I don't know how I found this woman, but I sent her my little,
God.
yeah, nothing but God.
Purpose.
Sent her my little raggedy manuscript, right? And I swear she called me within 6 days at work.
Wow.
And said, she wanted to represent me. So we're doing the happy dance in the library and all that, right? But it took us probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years to sell it.
Mm.
I got enough rejection letters to paper my house and both of your houses.
Mm-hmm.
And publishers were saying, it's a great story, but,
Mm-hmm.
and the but had to do with, there was no box for it
Mm-hmm.
because this was Night Song. It's my first historical. There was nothing, no box for a 19th century African American centered story that was not rooted in slavery.
Mm.
So I have a story that is after the Civil War, a town on the plains, Kansas, founded by black folks.
Mm-hmm.
And New York and the Rust Publishing was like, what? What? So and because I was doing what I wanted in life, which was work in the library, all these rejections didn't bother me.
Mm.
I mean, for somebody who probably was looking to get published, I mean, it probably would have devastated them.
Mm.
But I didn't care. I was working in the library every day. I had my
Right.
life goal, in my purse. So, June 3rd, 1993, which was my late husband's birthday,
Mm.
I got the call.
Wow.
And then I found I had to write a story.
It's like, oh,
Great. Now we
that's
have to do something with this.
Right, right. And, I tell people I had 700 pages of nothing but heat. And Ellen Edwards, who was the editor at the time and the one who bought the book, said, Bev, the love scenes are great. We need a story. I was like, shit, I write a story? Okay, well. So for me, it didn't make much sense to have African American hero and heroine and paint that story against a majority background.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been
Mm-hmm.
an avid, I don't know, reader of African American history all my life because I tell people my mother was black before it was fashionable. So I grew up with African American history in my home. So I knew, and then having worked in the in the graduate library at Michigan State University that had a full set of the Journal of Negro History, because I would take armfuls out at lunchtime just to go through it, not knowing I was preparing myself for what was going to come
You were.
20 years later, right? Girl, the universe is a crazy place.
It's a beautiful
So
place.
I set it in Kansas after the Great Exodus of 1879, which was the first major migration of black folks. We had the migration, the Great Migration of 1900, people going north.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was like 20 years before, and people went west.
Hmm.
They went to Kansas, they went to Iowa, they went to Nebraska, they went to Colorado. Some people went to California. Um, so I based my little town in Henry Adams, and Henry Adams was a real person, um, on the famous town Nicodemus, which was in the Great Solomon Valley and on the Great Solomon River in Kansas.
Wow.
So that's the beginning of my journey. And 25 years, 26 years? I don't know the math
26
very
years
well.
later.
Yeah, I'm here talking to y'all. So
Wow.
it's
Wow.
been an awesome journey. Awesome journey.
So, what was the romance industry like as a black woman telling black stories?
Very white. Very white. But I had some people who reached out and showed me the ropes, and I'm very, very grateful to them. And then you had some people that was like, they didn't care. They didn't want me at the table, but, that's been the struggle for 200 years. So it wasn't like it was going to keep me from doing what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
So I used what those ladies and Vivian, because she's very, very instrumental in taking my hand and leading me through the forest and giving me, she's like being with your grandmother, giving you lessons on how to conduct yourself,
Hmm.
regardless of what they were doing in relationship to your fans and how to carry yourself and all of that. So it was very white. But I started in 9 Song was published in 1994. We call that the Summer of Black Love because that was the same year that Arabesque published
Yeah.
all of their contemporaries, LaDonna Hill and Brenda and Gwen Forrester and the late Frances Ray. So they were doing the contemporary thing on their side, and I was doing, my low historicals. So
It's a
yeah,
pivotal year.
yeah, here we are.
Which leads me to ask, how have things changed or not changed in those 26 years?
Well, 26 years, you have the rise of indie, where the sisters and those of all identities um, said, well, fuck this. They don't want my story. We'll go independent. And romance was on the cutting edge of that.
It's
We're on the
true.
cutting edge of indie. We're on the cutting edge of e-readers. Um, I mean, we bring $1 billion to the table every year. So we're an industry to be reckoned with. And Black women were right there at the beginning of that whole big indie influx. Um, and as a result, really, really opened up romance to to all people. And so now you got sisters writing paranormal, you got sisters writing, IR, you got sisters writing in every new branch and old branch of the romance tree, which is fabulous because it's now starting to reflect the nation and the people who read it. Yeah. It was real white back then.
So, we said in your bio that you write in a lot of subgenres, but you primarily pen in historical romance fiction. So, what pushes you to explore the lives of Black folks in the period after the Civil War?
Because we get so much pain. I think the mainstream media thinks that that's the only lives that we had. Not only do they neglect the everyday struggles of just trying to be a person in America, they neglect the history and all of the contributions that we've made to America's quilt. Our pieces have been snatched out, cut out, burned, um, just like they've been for most of the people of color here in the country. And it's a very, very bittersweet kind of a century, the 19th century. So I like to set my stories there. Number one, because we don't know the history. And number two, it reflects just how clever and smart and innovative and awesome we were as a race to take all the lemons that America has given us and make the sweetest lemonade we could find.
Love that. So, we read your book, Forbidden, on the show.
Okay.
Thanks
Yeah.
again for letting us do
You're
that.
welcome. You're welcome.
And there were just so many awesome details, like when you mentioned the Baltimore-based Oblate Sisters of Providence, which is the first order of Black Catholic nuns in the United States, that like kept sending me to Google because I kept learning things and wanting to deep dive into them.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in what your research process looks like as you create
Um,
these books.
I call it edutainment, entertainment and education. Um, our history is so rich that if you know where to look, you'll find stuff that just amazes you. So my research process now is a lot more refined than it used to be when I started. Because when I started, I was working a regular job. I had a husband. I had 2 kids. Didn't have a whole lot of money. I mean, my husband was making great money, but it wasn't like it was my money. Well, it was my money, but it wasn't my money.
Yeah,
So I
yeah, I know
couldn't.
what you mean.
So I couldn't tell him, well, I need to spend $150 this week on library books, on research books. So that first book, Night Song, I did the research at the Ypsilanti Public Library. Ypsilanti is a city right outside of Ann Arbor. And they had a fabulous African American history collection, which was really interesting for such a small town. Um, but over the years, now I got so many books I ain't got room for them. I got 5 stacks. I got 4 7-foot bookcases in the office,
Wow.
and there are 5 stacks of books that are about knee high that are in the hallway because I ain't got no room.
It's
And
impressive.
and I keep telling myself, what are you gonna use this for? But I see this and I say, okay, well, I gotta buy this, I gotta buy this, I gotta buy this. And I think I tell the local library that when I do go to Glory, they're gonna get all these books.
Yeah.
And they can't circulate because folks steal my stuff. You got to sit down and read it. But the history is so important.
Mm.
And I think, one of the joys of the history is that when you educate a woman, you educate a race.
Say that.
So sisters are educating. I'm on grandchildren right now. The women who started with me and their daughters and the daughters of their daughters, and they're all learning that history.
Wow.
Um, one of the ladies said her grandson did a Black history paper. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the Black and Brown Outlaws of Indian Territory, something like that. And the teacher wanted to know, where'd you get this information? He said, out of my grandmama's Miss Bell books.
Yes. Yes.
So putting the Beverlys in the backs of the books,
Mm-hmm.
like you said for Google, you can learn more about each subject, and you don't have to, reinvent the wheel. You can just go to the list, look stuff up, and teach yourself and teach those around you.
So
It's fun,
smart.
and no test on Friday, so it's cool.
That we like.
Low
Yeah,
pressure. In Forbidden, the leading lady, Edie, we love her.
yeah,
She is self-possessed and just laser focused about her goals, even when
yeah,
circumstances set her back.
yeah.
Why was it so important for you to have such a strong character be so strong in her purpose?
Well, all of my women are strong. If they were in a monster movie, they wouldn't be running and falling down. And Edie came out of a. I was looking for something else. You run across
Mm.
stuff in this history and you go, what if? I was reading a diaries from somebody, some brother that was going west, and he said he saw this woman walking across the desert with a cook stove on her head, and that's all he said. He didn't know where she was going,
Wow.
but she was just walking. So when I read that, and I was really intrigued. Who was she? Where's she going? Why she got the cook stove on her head? So since I didn't know, I created a story.
Wow.
Um, Dorothy Sterling, in her book "We Are Your Sisters: Black Women of the 19th Century," which both of you should have in your libraries. That's your homework.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll take it.
She said Black women of the 19th century had 3 gifts. One, we worked. We had a commitment to community, and we pushed the envelope on race and gender.
Mm.
So I try and give all of my leading ladies, and sometimes the secondary women too, at least one of those gifts. Some of them have all 3, some of them only have 1, some of them have 2, but I want them to be focused on who we are and who we were, bringing us forward.
Hmm.
Because without their shoulders for us to stand on, we wouldn't be here. So those 3 gifts. And Edie has maybe all 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Maybe all 3. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the simple short answer.
So another thing that we talked about when we were discussing the book was that we love that you really provided a nuanced look at what might drive someone to pass. What made you want to tackle that topic?
Um, Part of it was the readers who, for the last 10 years, have been asking me, where's Ryan Fontaine?
Ryan Fontaine.
Yeah. And I had no idea where Ryan Fontaine was. But when I ran across the archaeological dig that's in the back in the author's notes and read about the Boston Saloon, and they found that hot sauce bottle and stereotypes,
You were
whatever, when
like,
there's a hot
hey.
sauce bottle, we involved, right? So the short chapter that he's in Through the Storm let us know a little bit about his mindset. And if you look at literature through the last 50, 100 years or whatever, the mulatto was always this tragic mulatto.
Yeah.
They don't know who they want to be. Oh my God, the angst. Some of them wind up taking their own lives because they can't handle.
Being in
So I'm going to do
tours.
something different.
Yeah.
And I think we have a tendency to sort of put them all in one box, and we put them in that tragic mulatto box. But what if they had a different mindset? What if he wanted to pass in order to help his people?
Right.
Which is what he did. But I always told the sisters when Ryan disappeared, like I said, I didn't know where he was for 10 years. I told him, I said, when we find him, I'm going to give him the darkest woman I can find.
Yes.
So Brother Man will have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And he did.
And he did.
His shit burned down at the end, but, it was okay.
Details.
And it was real interesting because at the end of that book, before Breathless was written, I had some people saying, well, it would never would have ended like that. Him and Happy and all that. And I said, yeah, I ain't read the second book. The second book starts out with them being run out of town. And people was like, well, that's so one. I was like, don't tell me how to write my books.
Don't tell me what I'm doing.
That's right.
I'm Beverly Jenkins. You are not.
Right. Say my name.
That's right.
So Ryan was a very interesting character. I'm hoping that, if Sony decides to do whatever it's going to do, because they've optioned it for film, that we get a really, really good rendition. And the sister who's the showrunner is fabulous.
Yes.
So I think, when the time comes, because stuff is optioned all the time.
Yeah.
So if it is made, we are in very good hands.
So excited about this.
So am I.
We were going to ask, can you tell us a little bit about that process, about having the book optioned? And
Well, it was optioned through the young ladies who own the Rip Bodice, Leah and Bia Coke, out in, they're outside of LA. And for those who don't know, they have now there's more than one. But when they started, they had the first bricks and mortar store that was strictly devoted to romance.
It's pretty dope.
And they are such dynamic women. Young women. And some kind of way, they worked out a deal with Sony where they was able to, push books their way. And I don't know how that connection started because, that wasn't none of my business. But one of the first books that they proposed was Forbidden. So I'm very, very grateful to them. So then I had no idea what the process was. My agent got someone to shepherd our side of the table forward. And we got the showrunner, and I'm not going to out her name because, that ain't my business either.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very, very well known. She's run some pretty powerful shows that we
Ooh.
have all watched, and not just all black shows.
Mm.
She's got a wealth of talent and experience. So we're just waiting to see what
Now I'm like
happens.
doing some
I am
guessing.
excited.
I mean,
So
we
I don't know if you can say or if you're willing to share, but
okay.
do you have a dream casting for Forbidden?
I would like to see Lupita as Edie
Yes. Yes.
and Wentworth Miller as because he
Oh.
is because he is a person of color.
Yes.
I think he'd be a perfect Rhine. And so far, that's all I got so far. But when I have my book club meetings with my readers when we do books, that's always the last question of the night
Yeah.
is cast the movie. And so, they got all kinds of, ideas and people, and some people will be like, who is that? And I don't know who that is. So, because, I'm two generations ahead of some of them. So,
Yeah.
but those are my ideal. I mean, it would be Lupita and Wentworth Miller. So we'll
Word.
see.
I totally see it. Let's make this happen.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Um, I guess I should have asked this before we went down the movie rabbit hole. But what do you want people to take away from the book when they finish, or even from the series? Because for those of you who don't know, it's a series of 3 books that
Yeah.
follows their story.
I've been asked that question since the beginning of my career. And, I don't know. I want to educate and I want to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are treated to both of those, then that's all I can ask. Um, I'm also for people who are outside of the culture. If it gives you insight into our history, that's what I want you to take away. We are more than just slaves. Um, so I just want you to have a good time. I mean, I had a sister one time who told me that, Miss Bev, I love your book. She said, because at the end of it, she said, I'm not singing nobody knows.
Yes.
Right. Right.
So, which I think is different. I mean, I think there's a spot for every kind of black story, but so far all we've been getting is pain and dysfunction and trauma and horror and abuse um, and some of those have been outstanding pieces of work. But I want N.K. Jemisin science fiction books. I want
Yes.
A.C. Arthur's shapeshifters. I want the full gamut because we write the full gamut, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't be just pigeonholed into one box
Yeah.
to represent the African American experience in America. So I'm just trying to do my part.
You are.
You are. What are you most proud of so far in your career?
That I'm still writing, and that I do whatever I can to try and make the path wider for those coming up behind me, to reach back and talk to these young women and talking them off the roof when they talk about they're gonna quit because
Mm.
they things aren't going the way they wanted to go, and um, being proud when somebody names their kid after one of my characters.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of chases running around these days. They're 25 years old now, but they still running around.
Wow.
And just the fact that try and be a good person. And I think I'm proud of that. Um, Too old for drama. So, just try and keep things even and on course for the young girls coming up behind me. So,
All right. So, speaking of widening the path and all the folks that you've mentored, what advice do you have for Black women who want to get started writing in this genre?
quit talking about it and write the damn book.
Yeah.
When I first started, because it took me, like I said, I wasn't writing for publication. So I worked on Night Sound for maybe 10 years. It's BC, before children, right? And
Girl, that's a whole nother life.
it is. But now I'm AC. They done moved out and grown and gone. Um, and when I talked about it, I got four sisters and two brothers. I'm the oldest. And I would talk about the book, and my sister's like, "What happened? What's going on with the book?" Everyone went, "What's the book?"
Just
So
slightly shady.
yeah, it's a slight, yeah, just a little bit. So I tell young writers to quit talking about writing and write the book.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it is, there's an audience for it because we read everything. Publishers are just figuring out that, oh, they don't just read Black books.
No.
I'm like, really? I gotta call y'all out at a luncheon about this.
Listen, and you've been calling folks out.
Left and right.
We are quite enjoying it.
Well, for 20 years, I was like a prophet in the wilderness, just yelling into the wind. But I think they're starting to listen. I mean, I still got a long ass way to go.
Yeah.
But at least they're like, oh, Miss Bev, you're right. Duh. Yeah. Um, but things are changing slowly. But I think we've made more change in the last. But then we had the RWA mess, so that put us back about. We don't want to talk about that. But leading up to the dumpster fire, we made some changes, saw some breakthroughs. So I'm just sitting back to see what's going to happen next. Because really, all I can control is what I write.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I can call folks out. I can, help folks out. I can, do what I can. But basically, the only thing I can really control is what I write. So I try and stay focused on that also.
Well, you made it clear that you are an avid reader, an avid book collector. But what are you reading now that has your attention?
I'm not supposed to be reading anything because I'm supposed to be finishing this damn book.
Man, that's the perpetual struggle.
Girl, the struggle is real. I just finished book 2. No. I just finished G.A. Aiken's what's it? The Blacksmith Queen. Oh my God.
Yeah?
Yes. It's got at the center of the story is, and I'm not gonna give you no spoilers, but at the center of the story is a woman who's a blacksmith. And she is from a long line of female blacksmiths. And it's a quest and it's fantasy and it's these women kick ass. It would make a great Netflix movie. Oh my God.
Ooh,
And it's written by Shelley Lawrenston, who's a woman of color. And I want book 2 like yesterday. I read this book coming home I read it coming home on the plane Sunday coming from Boston. And while I was in Boston, because see, that's the only time I get to read now, and it makes me just crazy. So I got like a Kindle that should probably go to Weight Watchers because it's got so many books in it. I mean, I open it and it just starts cussing at me. I also finished book 2 in I read a lot of fantasy. Jesse Mihalik's Queen series. This is the Queen's Gambit. This is like set in space.
Wow.
This woman is a former mercenary, and she's also a queen, and she is badass. Oh my god! So yeah, I read a little bit of everything. I'm waiting to start N.K. Jemison's book about New York City,
That's gonna be
but I haven't
exciting.
had a chance. Yeah, I haven't got a chance to check that out yet. So yeah, so I got lots of stuff on my in my TBR and all that. So we'll see.
Yay, thanks for sharing that with us. Hopefully
You're
folks
welcome.
got some good recommendations that they can pick up.
Oh, you got to read The Blacksmith Queen. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I'm gonna read
it's
that.
it's funny. Um, very 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 strong women. Lots of gore, lots of sword play, lots of heads being chopped off by
Yes.
women. You know, be a great movie.
I'll take
Great
that.
movie.
So then the question is, what's next for you? What can we look forward to reading from you?
Well, um, life has been sort of kicking my ass lately, so we had to push back the
I
historical.
saw that.
I know, and I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. Um,
It was so sweet
Blessings.
that you apologized to us, all of us.
I know.
Well, I do that. I do that because
You do what you
I
want. We're just happy to like get what
right.
you throw at us.
Well, that you got some readers, and some writers have posted this on Twitter where people say, well, you got to push the book back. I'm not reading any more of your books. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, we are human. We got issues. We got families. I got a 91-year-old mother-in-law. So I owe you the truth because you guys pay my mortgage.
That's
Okay,
real.
you guys bought my car. So and I'm always very cognizant of my role in my readers' lives and their role in my lives. So the apology was just part of what I do and who I am. So spring rain, no, wild rain, I can never get the title right. Um, will be next spring. So I got to finish it. So I'm gonna work on that. Now that the virus has got me canceling everything from here to mid-April. Um, and then I have book 11 to do for the Blessing series
Right.
because we're gonna have another one. Book 10 just dropped last Tuesday. So hopefully I'm gonna get a chance to maybe, catch my breath. I cleaned out my freezer today. I had, a little bit of time.
I saw. Wait, were you able to see? For those of you who don't follow Miss Bev on Twitter, you missing out. I saw you post. You was like, I need a nap now. I'm like, I hope she can still talk to us.
Yeah, I had planned on, because my life has been I've been on a hamster wheel for 6 years. And finally got a break, hit the wall and had to tell my editor, no more.
Good for you.
I need to take a break. And so I was in Boston last week, hoping I didn't catch the virus. We won't know for another 2 weeks. Um, and so today was just sort of like, got my groceries delivered because I don't leave my house. Got my groceries delivered and said, okay, I'm going to cook today. It's going to be a good, I'm going to do these smoked turkey legs and some collards and some black eyed peas and got these sweet potatoes sitting here in the cupboard.
You
And
are
I
a
opened the
good cook.
freezer and it's like, okay, you've been ignoring this for the last 6 months. And what had happened was I had a I had a carton of ice cream that had caramel snaking through it. And it had been in there so long that the carton tipped over.
Oh.
And the caramel oozed out over everything in the freezer. And so for the last 3 months, 4 months, all I've been doing is throwing stuff in the freezer and closing the door. So when I got the groceries today, And I had to put one of them big old turkey legs in the freezer, and there's no room. So I was like, okay, and it was like being a character in that old racist book, The Tar Baby. 'Cause everything I touched, I
Became.
was stuck to.
Yeah.
I'm running catfish in freezers under the hot water and stuff. So anyway, after I got done, I was like,
You was too tired to
ain't be no
cook.
cooking. Ain't be no
Ain't
cooking
no
today.
cooking.
No cooking. It's a nap. So I'll cook tomorrow.
I'm glad you took time for yourself.
Well, it's we as women sometimes don't do that. We're so busy taking care of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes being in denial about not really having the strength and the mental ability to just sit your ass down.
Yeah,
And sometimes your body will say, it's time to sit your ass down.
sure will.
Yeah.
So I've taken off a week now. I'm going to start back to work tomorrow. Try and get this book done. My poor editor.
She'll
I told her
live.
I'm going to start. I told her I'm going to start buying her wigs. Because I know she bald from pulling her hair out with me. But she's so fabulous and so patient. And she's a great editor. So I'm going to try and get this to her as quickly as possible because the next Blessings book is due in a few months from now. So it's a never-ending story, but I love what I do.
That's
I
a
mean, I'm
Well,
blessing.
we
sitting
love
here
what you
in
do.
my
So
Yeah.
thank
pajamas.
you.
Sitting in my pajamas. I've been in all day, so I got to leave my house. Anyway,
No, that's a life.
it is.
So, where can people find what you do? Your website is beverlyjenkins.net.
hmm And
And
we had issues for a week, but it's up now and running. We are updating it. It's on um, wherever books are sold, online, bricks and mortars, Audible, Braille, um,
yes, we love
wherever,
accessibility.
whatever mode of vehicle or device you want.
It's
My
there.
books are there. Yeah, and that's an
Awesome.
honor too.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And you're on Twitter at author Ms. Bev
Mm-hmm.
and on Facebook at author Beverly Jenkins.
Yeah, I think I have 4 Facebook pages.
Wow.
I have one that's, I don't have any personal pages. All my pages are fan run and based. I have what's supposed to be the personal page where you can only have 5,000 people. I have that page. I have the author Beverly Jenkins page. That's the brand page. Then I have a spoilers page
Oh,
Ooh.
where, because, they read the book so fast and then they want to talk about it the next day.
right.
There's people that haven't got the book.
Yeah.
That's a
Y'all
little
So
go
I
over
have,
there and
smart.
play.
yeah, go over there and play. I gave them a separate room for them to do
Love
that.
that.
Um, and then we have a page that one of the fans created called the Fans of Beverly Jenkins. And that's an open page. I mean, you can just ask to join that. The spoiler page, you have to have an invite because we can't have crazy up in the room. So,
Let's protect our
yeah,
space.
we have, yeah, I had one woman in there said, well, y'all can't talk about the book because everybody hasn't read it. We're like,
You
honey,
in the wrong place.
did you see the sign on the door? It says spoilers. So she ran out. So
Good. She was wilding.
reading is fundamental.
It is. You think she would know that?
I know.
Well, thank you so
Well,
much for joining
you
us.
are so welcome. I'd love to come back whenever you want
Oh,
me.
don't tell us that.
Don't tell us.
Oh, well,
Well,
yeah.
you know what, Miss Bev, you say that, and you're gonna be at
I mean
home one
that.
day, and we're gonna
Uh-huh.
show up like we're gonna do this in person.
That's
We
okay.
heard you had some smoked turkey legs and some collard
I know.
greens.
Some collard greens and a clean freezer.
Yes.
So it'll be pie too. We'll get pie.
Ooh, all right.
Oh,
Listen, this is going to happen. We
promise.
Yeah.
appreciate you.
She's looking at me like, yeah, I'm a scratch baker, hon.
Me too. And it is, I
love
literally
it.
baked a cake before I came to the studio.
Oh,
Wait,
see?
today?
Yeah, but I'm giving it away. I'll
like-
bake you a cake tomorrow, but you can't eat. We'll figure it out. I gotta figure out some new recipes for you.
I don't
She's
care.
now gluten free,
I will.
and so now she can't eat anything I make.
You're gluten free? Oh no! Give me.
Look, it is only because I'm facing some health challenges that I even care.
Well, you deal with your health challenges because we want you here.
Exactly. I will.
I know.
I'm gonna find some recipes of some things that I can bake for you.
Yeah.
We'll discuss this offline because I'm ready to cuss her out right now. I'm so upset.
Play nice. Mama says play nice.
Yes, please tell her. Well,
But thank you so much for having me. Have me back.
we will.
We
'Cause
will.
like I said, I don't get to talk to women of color very often. So
It's been
I
a
had fun.
pleasure.
Thank you.
And thanks
Thank
to
you, thank you.
everyone who is listening. That's it for this week's episode of The Turn On. See you next time.
All right.
This episode was produced by us, Erica and Kenrya, and edited by Ballistic. The theme song is from Brazy. We want to hear from y'all. Send your book recommendations and all the burning sex and related questions you want us to answer to theturnonpodcast@gmail.com. And please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter @TheTurnOnPod and Instagram @TheTurnOnPodcast, and find links to our books, transcripts, guest info, and other fun stuff at theturnonpodcast.com. And remember, The Turn On is now a part of the Frolic Podcast Network. You can find more shows you'll love at frolic.media/podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Holla!